Please welcome our current and outgoing Master, Mr. Anthony Bickmore. Master, would you like to reflect on some of the highlights of your year in office?
Josh, yes, thank you. I guess that one of the first things was getting back together after lockdown. Our Deputy Master and previous Master admirably held us together during lockdown, but it was really good to see people back in the hall and do things with other members of the company. Then the next big thing for me was putting in place through the courts a charter on sustainability and another one on diversity. We also had a conversation about purpose and what's the purpose of the livery. More especially then, there was the 650th anniversary of our ordinances in 1371. We had a wonderful dinner in the Guildhall. You provided candles, which were marvellous, and we had the Duke of Gloucester there, plus a guard from my pikemen and musketeers. Then following that, we had the Lord Mayor's show, where for the first time for many years, we took a float in that. And we had a green float pulled by electronic cargo bikes, so it wasn't a big articulated lorry pulling us around. And then on the actual closest day to the actual date of our anniversary, we had a service of Thanksgiving at St. Vitus, and then we had tea at the hall. And it's the only time in my year that I've been to a place where we serve Bollinger, and that was fantastic. And Tim, the Upper Warden, did an amazing job bringing those two events together. At that dinner, then, of course, Sue Green announced the completion of her hall raising, her hall fund idea, and that has raised £230,000, which will help to secure our future into the future for major works to the hall. We've also developed a new relationship through the Charity Committee with the Trinitas Academy Trust, which is helping disadvantaged families in the London Borough of Bexley. So I'm really pleased about that. I think that's a really good step forward. We had a livery and escorts dinner this summer with a bit of a difference because it was just before the Platinum Jubilee. In addition to having the Principal Private Secretary to His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales and Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cornwall, it was a week before we went to see Highgrove, so that was a bit of fun. And we sang a song from each of the four nations. Then, of course, there's the informal things which are not on part of the Master's formal programme. The outing to Bristol, our visit to Highgrove. Earlier in the year, we'd had a visit to Coningsby. We've had visits to the Super Bloom at the Tower of London and other things. And then the last bit, which is sort of slightly specialist for me as a property man, is the bit where we are just on the verge of completing the refurbishment of the fourth floor, which is using monies which were created from the refurbishment of our Fleet Street property and repaying our mortgage which we had on that property. So there's 10 things there, which are sort of quite big things, but they're all important.
Well, thank you, Master, for sharing some of the strategic highlights of your year. I think many of us will have fond memories of them, especially getting back to a sense of normality after lockdown. Moving on and looking at representing the livery across the livery movement, what can you share with us with this?
Doing the circuit of all the different halls which you get to see when you're a master and you're going to the dinners there, and that was lovely. I built a lot of friendships for doing that. Reflecting my green credentials, I visited many of these halls with my bicycle. So when I went for a formal dinner, I'd also hand in my bicycle in the cloakroom. And a number of masters commented that makes an excellent point about being green. There are three things in a more general sense which I've been doing across the livery movement. The first one is pollinating London together as a pan livery event. It's got tremendous brand recognition now across the livery movement. We've got now, I think it is 22 companies who formally signed up as members. And we've won a grant from the City Corporation of £230,000 to do some work in the city. Then I'm doing a piece on diversity and inclusion, which is linked to our statement about diversity and inclusion, which is across primarily my master's year group of masters, but it's broadened out with that. And the Mercers have kindly made their hall available And both sheriffs are supporting that alongside probably 50 livery companies coming to that. So we are active on a pan livery basis. I've been involved with the Livery Climate Change Action Group, which is led by Alderman and Sheriff Alison Gowman, to think about how we can plan for our carbon footprint. The reality of the need to change and manage carbon is probably even more important than it has been before. So 3 things there.
Thank you for that, Master. And I'm sure you will have had plenty of time to do other things on top of what you just described. So what about the more hidden topics that most of us simply don't see or take for granted?
Well, firstly, there's a point about peddling very hard behind the master who goes out and does these things, is the team in the office. So Richard, Stanley, Becky, Debbie, who are all doing bits and pieces which help to make the organisation work. And so a lot of work goes into the selecting of the food and wines and changing from bottled water to tap water, getting some stuff about where our food comes from. Small changes we've made, we trialed of not serving coffee at the meals, because actually we then serve it in the courtroom afterwards, which allows those who've got to travel the opportunity to travel, but it also allows people to have wider conversations. We've done things about recycling the table flowers where we have them, buying British to stop the air miles, but also recycling them. So a number of things there, which are small changes, but they're all going in the direction which I think I set out from my installation just about a year ago.
So a wonderful and comprehensive year. You must be very happy with the achievements you've made so far.
Yes, and it's also the engagement of so many people across the livery, and it's going out and representing an organisation which, you know, I enjoy doing. I think it's got an awful lot of offering, and we're going places. Good organisation to have the privilege of going out and representing.
And we have the privilege of you being our master, of course. As your year draws to a close and a new master beckons, do you have any sage words of advice?
Lots, but I probably can't offer them. No, I think the key point is to enjoy it and have the connections with the livery, which Tim will do, and Tim is very good at that stuff. So, you know, enjoy it and embrace it, because the year goes actually quite quickly. The things I've talked about, which I've done in my year, were not things which I just started at the beginning of my year. Other than diversity, that was when I started late.
Well, thank you, Master. And on behalf of the livery, can I thank you again?
That's very kind of you. Thank you, Ian.